I never thought the smell of sawdust and hay could break my heart. For 20 years, my old red barn stood tall at the back of my property, a place where my kids played hide and seek, where my father's tractor rested, where my wife and I once danced under string lights after a long harvest. It wasn't just a barn. It was family history nailed together with every beam. And then one morning, it was gone. The HOA president, a smug man named Charles, stood on the sidewalk with his clipboard in hand as demolition crews reduced my barn to splinters. They said it violated the aesthetic standards of the neighborhood. I hadn't been given notice, no hearing, no warning. Just men in hard hats, swinging hammers and crushing my memories into dust. I asked Charles why. His smile was the kind that made you want to wipe it off his face. Rules are rules, Mr. Turner. You should have read the covenant more carefully. That night, I sat on my porch and stared at the heap of broken wood. My daughter cried herself to sleep. My wife begged me to let it go. But something inside me snapped. They had taken more than a barn. They had stolen my dignity. And they had forgotten one thing. I used to be an engineer. And I knew things about this land, things the HOA never bothered to research. See, years before the resort community was built, my grandfather worked for the county water department. He showed me the system of underground pipes that ran beneath our property, pipes that fed directly into the man-made lake at the center of the HOA's $5 million luxury resort. The lake with its paddle boats, fancy clubhouse, and lakeside weddings. The lake that kept their property values sky high. And just 50 yards behind what was left of my barn sat a rusted metal valve, half buried under weeds. A valve I had the legal right to access, because it was on my land. The HOA had destroyed my heritage. But with one twist of that valve, I could take away theirs. I waited a week. I wanted them to feel safe again, wanted Charles to keep strutting around in his golf cart, sipping lemonade, thinking he'd won. Then one humid evening, when the cicadas screamed and the sky boiled purple, I grabbed my wrench and walked to the back of the lot. My hands shook, not from fear, but from the weight of what I was about to do. I leaned down, set the wrench to the valve, and twisted. At first, nothing. Then a deep groan vibrated through the ground. A rush of water thundered through the old pipes. By the next morning, the lake level had dropped 3 feet. By sunset, docks hung uselessly in the air, boats tilted sideways in the mud. Fish flopped desperately on cracked soil where water used to be. The HOA panicked. Charles stormed to my front door, red-faced and sweating. "What the hell have you done?" I looked him in the eye, calm as stone. "I opened a valve." "You're destroying community property," he screamed. "You destroyed mine first," I said. The local news showed up 2 days later. Cameras panned over the empty basin where brides once posed for sunset photos. The homeowners were furious. Property values plummeted overnight. Lawsuits flew, but every lawyer they hired hit the same wall. The valve was on my land. I had every right to turn it. By the end of the month, Charles resigned. The HOA dissolved under the weight of bankruptcy. Their $5 million jewel had turned into a crater of mud, reeds, and buzzing flies. As for me, I rebuilt my barn, this time stronger, wider, with steel beams and fresh red paint. Every swing of the hammer was a drumbeat of victory. Neighbors passed by and whispered their thanks, quietly, of course, because they'd been too afraid to stand up to the HOA before. I didn't care about their whispers. I cared about the silence that finally settled over my land. No more clipboards, no more rules or rules. Just my family, my barn, and the knowledge that sometimes the smallest twist of revenge can drain an empire dry.